Welcome to March Malcontent, Episode 4. Our first match is going to be Peach versus Roy. Here we are on the Pokemon stage. I suddenly can't remember the name of what this one is called. Hopefully future me hears this and puts it on screen. Could be Kalos? No, that's the gym stage. Yeah, maybe I should stop theorizing and start commentating. Nope, Peach with another taunt. We know how well those amiibo usually do. One thing that helps prevent taunting amiibo is giving them fewer spirits in total. The problem is that if you ever need to adjust their stats, you need to do that by giving them spirits. At some point after training like 50 of these things, I found out that if you give somebody I swear I figured it out, guys. I can't remember the name of the spirit. Oh, Celebi, the Pokemon spirit that gives you triple auto heal. Then you give them a level 99 Mecha Fiora, and then a level 1 Kumatora. That will put them... You have to do this when they're at, like, level 42, by the way. It does work with, like, early level 43. When amiibo go up levels, they take less influence from spirits, also with how many spirits they've received. So if you change up the order, it will definitely affect the results. Most especially because Celebi, when you give amiibo Celebi first, it takes a negative 400 from both of their stats. If you give it to them last, then it's not evenly balanced like that. Anyways, when you do that, you only need 3 amiibo, and it gives your amiibo 3 tiers of auto heal and balanced 2100 stats. So if you ever want to make an amiibo like I did, you only need those 3 spirits. Celebi and Mecha Fiora can actually be both found in the second half of World of Light, the World of Dark part, in the Hyrule section. Yeah, sorry, spoilers for a sub-game mode that's been out for, I think, 4 years now. Well, more like 3 and 4 months. Anyways, you can find Mecha Fiora and Celebi both in that area. I don't remember where Kumatora is, but as a, I think, 1 or 2 star spirit, she's a lot easier to find. Also, another tip for spirit farming is that if you're ever out of a specific spirit, the game will try to give you that spirit more. So obviously, if you have all the spirits and then you use your last one, the game's going to give you that next spirit really quickly. The Peach went way too low. It gets saved by Roy. Anyways, the main point is so that you can actually find all the spirits. Because right now, I think we're sitting at like 1,500. And if the game didn't give you new ones... It's not guaranteed, but it's like a lot more likely odds. Anyways, if they didn't do that, then you could definitely have a spirit that you couldn't find for 4 years. Because the game never randomly rolled that number. And in past Smash games with trophies and stickers and especially equipment pieces, which is its own discussion because for as long as I played Smash 4 on the 3DS, I only got 3 items that auto-healed. So that tells you just how many items there were to pick from. And I would actually grind for them in the Smash run. Anyways, back to spirits. If you use up all the good spirit, the game will shuffle you a new one pretty soon after that. Makes it a lot easier, especially if you're trying to make, oh, I don't know, about 90 amiibo who all have the same stat layout. Knowing which spirits to use and when, and how to get more of the same. Which reminds me, my last tip is that if you fight a spirit in the spirit board and you need another one, once you beat the spirit, if you use the rematch item, it puts the same spirit back in the hole that you just opened up. Which does mean that you only need the spirit to show up once, and you can farm as many of them as you want as you have the rematch tokens. You can hold up to 99 of those, so you only need to farm for that spirit, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. Unless you go for all 99, then you need to farm even less, but once you know the system, it's a lot easier to get the ones you need. Other tough spirits to acquire include Golden Mario, who you need to play World of Light and buy 2 Mario-themed spirits to get. A couple of them you have to mix for. If you just start messing with spirits to have fun instead of trying to get a specific spirit, then the process is just so much easier. Like, quite honestly, if you're like, oh, well, suddenly I want to do a thing with spirits, I think they're kind of fun. Play through World of Light, you'll have a fun time, and it'll make it a lot easier to get all the spirits. It's actually kind of interesting, a lot of famous people on the internet will not touch World of Light, and then they'll suddenly become interested in making a spirit raid boss, or an amiibo layout, and then they won't have any of the spirits ready because all they've been doing is tournament practice for decades. Next match, we've got Robin versus Captain Falcon. At this point, he's basically become Captain Smash Bros. Robin with the first blood, and the second blood, and the third blood, and the fourth blood, fifth blood. Yeah, Captain Falcon finally got a hit. 67% in. Is he gonna go for it? Nope. He could have gone for a spike. Probably should have. That low down it might have just killed Robin. That's the character's name. And Robin with the taunt. One day we will learn how to punish these. I will say that one change I have not been thrilled about. Oh, Captain Falcon dies first. Is that all taunts are now cancelable, and as a result, you never see anybody taunt. First of all, because online you can't taunt anyway, which actually does kind of hurt Luigi specifically. But since you can now taunt a con. Okay, 2 quick kills from Captain Falcon. Anyway, since you can cancel taunts, it's no longer as effective, because a taunt was effective because it essentially told your opponent, hey, I don't need to do anything particular for these next 12 seconds. Or, often, I can stand here and taunt, and I know that you're not going to hit me for it. But now that taunts are cancelable at some point in their animation, taunts are no longer an inherent risk, and now it's kind of just like when people try to teabag by, like, ducking a whole bunch. Like, that was never as effective as taunting, because you can duck 3 times in a row, and then immediately dash, do a dash attack, cancel, back air, or something like that. I've just mixed 2 smash turns. Anyways, Dacus and Rar. I'm not going to explain those, because one of them doesn't even exist in this game anymore. Anyways, since you can now taunt and then do whatever you want afterwards, it's not, honestly, as effective as a taunt as it used to be. Captain Falcon just tech rolled off the side of the stage into the blast zone. Why would he do that? Now we've got Bayonetta versus Falco. This is going to be interesting because Bayonetta used to be, first of all, an overpowered character. Got enough nerfs, mainly taking out her ability to kill you at 0 from anywhere on the stage. That was a pretty important part. She just had too many good combos. Anyways, now she kind of suffers from just not being... Oh, is she about to... Nope, okay. So imagine if that had killed Falco off the top of the screen. That's what old Bayonetta was like. But now she's kind of just underwhelming. After all the work she has to go through to get some of her biggest combos, they don't do that much more than most other characters would be doing. Which is a problem because Bayonetta is hitting you with like 5 different moves. and you probably only had to hit her with 2 or 3. Anyways, the amiibo isn't as good with the combos. Also keep in mind that amiibos, first of all, don't usually learn combos. They seem to keep surprising me with the combos that they do pick up. But also just know that the amiibos don't really learn combos from you, so they kind of just ad-lib everything, which Bayonetta is better at doing than most characters, but that also means that the amiibo isn't going to be using all of Bayonetta's best combos. Bayonetta seems to have figured out that one, though, and that's one of Bayonetta's best combos. Ooh, good catch with the forward air there. Does not seem to know how to kill Falco, though. I think the intended design for the character was that you hit somebody with a witch time, and then you hit them with a smash attack, because it's really hard to hit your smash attacks if you're not getting them a witch time, or just making a hard read. And the Bayonetta games are very much about hitting someone a whole bunch and then dodging at a critical point, and then unleashing the huge hairy arm. Well, okay, when I say hairy arm, like the black and purple things that come out of the void, those are composed out of Bayonetta's hair. I know, that's why it doesn't look like it's just like some hairy dude's arm. Interesting thing about Bayonetta's recovery is that for the most, well, vertical distance, you want to do up B, and then you want to jump and then up B before your jump's finished, and then you get your jump back after you're done with your up B. It's kind of a multi-layered system, because if you jump after your up B, you get a second one. But if you cancel your jump into the second up B, then they refund your jump. Only once, though, mind you. So you can go up B, jump, jump. And that's how you get the highest. It's actually pretty useful for a lot of Bayonetta's combos. Then Falco's been in the game for a lot longer. I can say something specific about the Falco amiibo is that it's almost not balanced right. In the pose, Falco leans so far forward, it kind of just tips over whenever you knock it sideways. It could have been a slight posture adjustment away from not actually balancing when set on a table. I am a little surprised that that went through how it did. Falco is a very aerial character, has lots of good aerials, and enjoys being in the air. That being said, he's also a fast faller because he's from the same game Fox is from, and Fox is a good spike, doesn't kill Bayonetta. Anyways, Falco's from the same game as Fox is from, so for some reason they all fall quickly. We're not entirely sure why, but if you change it, the characters just feel different. And in Smash Brothers, especially between games, they don't usually change characters from what they are to something else unless they have, like, a good reason for it. For example, in Brawl, Bowser got his side B. It used to just be like a second grab, but not really much better at all. So they changed it to be the spinning body slam, which first of all is a lot cooler, and second of all, a lot more useful. They did have to buff it over the course of a couple of games. But yeah, if they just made Falco really floaty, then he wouldn't feel like Smash Brothers Falco. And unless a game comes out where Falco is incredibly floaty, they wouldn't have a reason to do that. Bayonetta just got punished for landing a hit. It's always pretty rough. Oh, if that was an up smash, if any of those were an up smash, Falco would be dead. Or if that was a back air, Falco would be dead. I think you can probably have seen there, the portal came out for just a little bit. Bayonetta's smash attacks... Oh, she is not recovering. Anyways, Bayonetta's smash attacks have a property where they get negated by normal attacks. Probably to make up for the fact that they're so huge and strong. Olimar's Pikmin used to have that too, but they took it out for Ultimate, and it kind of made him a better character. Which might mean that Bayonetta needs the same treatment, but then everyone's going to get hit with these giant hairy arms again. For our next match, we have R.O.B, Japanese, versus Ridley. Probably should have said that as Japanese R.O.B. That would have made a lot more sense. On the Metroid stage, home field advantage is not a mechanic in Smash Brothers. Well, I say that, it's not a direct mechanic. I'm sure there is at least one character who does naturally a little bit better on their stage. Not that R.O.B has a stage, I'm pretty sure he's the only character who doesn't. Which would be sad, but they usually just put him on the classic Super Mario Bros. Stage. A lot of people kind of didn't play Gyromite. And... well, my chair just broke. You heard it here first. Anyways, back to home stage advantage. There is one specific instance where Inkling's ink, when sprayed with its neutral special, can ink the stage of Moray Towers. It's not really that useful, so you don't need to worry about it affecting any of your, well, professional matches on a casual stage anyway. But it is in the game, it's interesting to know. And then it's not really an advantage, but Steve's Minecraft stage always has one of each type of material block. Mostly so that, you know, when you're testing out Steve, you can mine the different resources on all the different blocks. And it's not like any other stage can't have that. It's just most stages don't have that with Steve's mining in mind. For example, on this stage, I'm sure that most of it would count as a normal ground element, and maybe that top platform might count as iron. But usually most stages are made out of the same thing the whole way through, so they don't have the different resource blocks. Oh, Ridley interrupted R.O.B's down throw combo. Usually you can't do that, so I don't know how he did. R.O.B with a falling up air. Something about these R.O.B amiibo just really like hitting that falling up air. I don't know why, although I can say that when they're against a human opponent, they're actually pretty good at comboing out of the falling up air. Because human opponents will take a lot more damage, and therefore more knockback. R.O.B goes for a very early ledge trump. Don't remember teaching the amiibo that. Ah, shoots a laser. I do tragically miss back when R.O.B's laser didn't get slower when it was at full charge. The main problem now is that it's just so much harder to hit people with it. And it doesn't do enough knockback to really feel worth it. Now, Ridley is really surviving a long time here. Normally... I hope that missed. Normally you would attribute it to, well, Ridley has a good recovery. But this stage has really short horizontal blast zones. Okay, well, down throw up smash will kill, and then Ridley will kill R.O.B in revenge. Barely spacing under that forward smash. Ridley seems to keep using his neutral B where he charges up fireballs. If you get hit during it, then, as Ridley, if you get hit in the face at least, you take a little explosive knockback, but you don't take the full brunt of the attack. So I'm not quite sure how that stacks up with the amiibo, because their stats should be balancing out, but it is possible that somewhere along the conversion he is taking less damage than he otherwise would, compared to the less damage he would normally be taking anyway. Gets a slide, and that kills? No. See, the final flash for Smash Brothers is just kind of unreliable. Oddly enough, it does make the game more exciting, because even though you see it, it doesn't mean the game's over. But sometimes you just kind of know that, oh yeah, the game thinks that I'm going to die, but I know I won't. Part of the problem is that the flash doesn't really account for DI. Oh, if R.O.B had gone for a side B, that would have been the game. But I don't think he's going to... Oh, unless Ridley fails to recover. Playing around on the ledge. Dash attack doesn't kill. This is a dangerous game. Well, for R.O.B. Not really so much for Ridley. And Ridley takes the kill. Up air through the platform. Next we've got Ryu versus Mr. Game & Watch. This is going to be an interesting game because Mr. Game & Watch is very good at edge guarding, and Ryu has a terrible, well, below average recovery. It's actually not that bad. But Mr. Game & Watch is one of the lightest characters in the game. I think he might be the third lightest, possibly fifth. Anyways, Ryu is a character who can just sort of kill you out of nowhere. So they both have different methods of straight up killing the opponent. Ryu almost didn't grab the ledge there. See, Ryu already just killed Mr. Game & Watch with an up smash. Game & Watch trying to get some hits back, but he just keeps trading, and as a light character, that's really not good. Even more impressive because Mr. Game & Watch has a whole bunch of things that on most other characters would just straight up be broken. For example, his up smash is invincible in the head, and on Mr. Game & Watch that's like half his body. Other characters do have like intangibility, and of course the line between intangibility and invincibility is thinner than a lot of people think. Game & Watch's down smash buries people so he can kill them with his forward smash. I mean, you can see his up air is a huge projectile. He has a very large recovery, which is like the fastest out of shield option in the game, I'm pretty sure. Actually, it might be beaten out by Little Mac's neutral air, but that's a really weak attack. Whereas up B is not weak and sometimes can lead into a follow-up hit. So yeah, if Mr. Game & Watch were anyone else, he could probably be broken. Oh yes, and we cannot forget nines. You have a 1 in 9 chance of basically killing your opponent. The game actually treats it like it's a guaranteed kill, but it definitely is not. However, it is strong enough that a large majority of the time it is. Anyway. That fish didn't seem to connect right. Now Mr. Game & Watch gets his recovery back so he can make that. He needs to get a early kill on Ryu to stay in this game. Ryu's focus attack, by the way, so it has a special kind of armor that a lot of attacks have some similar... Oh, that killed Game & Watch. Anyways, focus attack. If you hit it with 2 hitboxes, it cancels itself normally. There's also a percent threshold, where if you deal Ryu enough percent, it'll also break the focus attack. There are also other attacks in the game that have a knockback threshold instead, which end up being kind of similar, to be quite honest. But it is nice to know that there is slight differences between all the different kinds of armor in the game. Up next we have Byleth against Lucas. Byleth, from the game franchise that seems to be really popular in Japan, probably because it's basically an anime dating game with a couple of strategy elements in it. Meanwhile, Lucas is from a game that hasn't even been released in America, despite everybody in America desperately wishing that to be the case. It's kind of like the total opposite stories. Because even though I don't want Byleth to be removed from the game, Byleth was definitely really low on my list of characters I wanted to be added. And it kind of was for a lot of people too, because it kind of seemed to be a decision made out of money instead of out of making the best game. Meanwhile, Lucas can't get Mother 3 released in America, despite the fact it could probably make them a whole bunch of money, because a whole bunch of people would like to play the game. There's even a fully assembled fan translation that's been offered to Nintendo, but Nintendo refused. And while I can definitely understand why they wouldn't want to just take something that what Nintendo would have seen as some guy had made, it does kind of leave them in a predicament, though, because obviously people in America wanted to play the game, so they played the only translation that existed. I'm not even sure if the translation's in other languages. But now it means that if Nintendo ever wants to... Wow. If Nintendo ever wants to release Mother 3, they're going to have to, first of all, retranslate it, and second of all, they can't just use the translation that already exists. It's made by a guy who calls himself Tomato. Because, you know, you don't use your real names on the internet, guys. Anyways, if they get everything the same, then there would definitely be some sort of legal problem with that. But if they do anything different, it won't be the game that everybody who likes the game already knows about. And some things, like some of the puns, just make a whole bunch of sense, and if they had to arbitrarily be changed, would kind of be terrible. But at the same time, in order to make the translation, so many things had to be set forth, like, oh, well, this character needs a name. Let's translate their name the best we can. So do they change the character's name, or do they give them a new one? I mean, do they keep the old one and keep legal problems? So stuff like that is probably why Mother 3 might never get released in America. Maybe it could one day, like, it's even possible that they're in talks about it right now and they haven't announced anything. But I wouldn't count on it. Sorry to say. Meanwhile, whatever Fire Emblem wants, Fire Emblem gets. Even when people don't want Fire Emblem. Not that Fire Emblem's bad, it's actually... I really like that strategy element of the game. It just sort of became an anime dating simulator after a while, and they keep sticking with it. Lucas needs to find some way to kill Byleth. Meanwhile, Byleth just racked up enough damage to not guarantee a win, but definitely help. Down tilt to forward smash. You don't usually see that, but I guess it would work. So Byleth is a good character. First of all, as a DLC character, DLC characters have this privilege to them that basically they're a little bit better than they should, because apparently some people won't buy the character unless they're stronger than average. It's a mindset I really don't like. Why would you not be okay? You bought the character, did you only buy them so that they would be overpowered? Anyway, so Byleth does have that going for him. Also a large reach and a whole bunch of knockback that will kill things very early, and being used by a very good player, debatably the best player in the world. Up next, we have Marth vs. Olimar, in yet another match that may or may not cut off while I'm rambling about game-adjacent things. For example, Olimar's whistle. It's straight up like the whistle you'd use in elementary school, stuck in his helmet. The gameplay reason it exists is because that's how he commands the Pikmin. But for an astronaut suit, that doesn't really make sense, because in order for it to work, it should expose him to the deadly elements that the atmosphere has that he cannot tolerate. In Olimar's case, he cannot breathe oxygen. I know, right? Everyone else here can breathe air, but Olimar can't. He has to breathe some other stuff. Doesn't help that he crash lands on Earth. They never say Earth, but it's very obviously Earth. They just can't call it that because, obviously, Olimar doesn't know to call it Earth. He's also canonically the size of a GameCube memory card. So like an inch and a half tall. Which first of all puts him below Kirby's canonical size of 8 inches. Obviously they had to scale him up for Smash Brothers. But anyways, that whistle should be his undoing and should get him killed. Not that I want that, the Pikmin games are actually fun. I am terrible at real-time strategy games, but Pikmin is enjoyable. I will say what really killed real-time strategy for me was one time I was invited to play a StarCraft, I don't know, like, shindig, basically. I never played before, so it took me a while getting an account set up, everything. This was StarCraft 2, and I guess they let you play for free? I'm not entirely sure. All I know is I didn't have to buy the game. But the problem was that I had never played a StarCraft game before in my life, and apparently everyone else had. And the weird part was that they expected me to know what the heck was going on. I was trying to get enough resources to build the next type of unit, and I couldn't figure out why I never had enough. Turns out that the bugs need to infect the world, the Zerg, I should say, need to infect the world with this goop so they can build more buildings, which really doesn't even make sense, but it's a gameplay mechanic, I guess. Anyways, yeah, so I had a hard time getting everything going. I finally had stuff to call my own, and then we got invaded and just died. And everyone else had so many things, and I could not even begin to know where they got the resources or the manpower to build any of them. I guess people have like lists of like what stuff you should build when, but you don't have to deal with any of that in Pikmin. In Pikmin, it's just make sure your Pikmin don't die. There was once even a wow, that's already okay. Well, I still want to tell my Pikmin story. So one time I was fighting, this was in Pikmin 2, the Man at Legs. It's basically a giant spider with a machine gun. It killed all of my Pikmin except for a single white Pikmin. But that was fine because the boss dropped a light bulb which only needed one Pikmin to carry. So it was perfect for my exact situation. Took a long time to carry it and to resupply everything after that. But it's a moment that I will always remember. It's only possible because of Pikmin. And for our last match of this episode, we have Isabelle versus Ice Climbers. Two characters whose names start with the letter I. Not that you didn't know that, but... Also, I know Ice Climbers has the double white coat skin, which means that Nana is the lead climber and Popo is the second Ice Climber. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call the first Ice Climber Popo and the second one Nana. I mean, so now I have to decide. So the second Ice Climber died, and it was technically a Popo, but it would normally be the Nana Ice Climber. They function the same, except for the second Ice Climber is basically a little bit stronger than the first Ice Climber, and when Popo switched with Nana, they have the corresponding voice lines. The whole point the Ice Climbers have this skin specifically is to make it harder for human opponents to tell which Ice Climber is which. The only other skin that does something similar is I think that they have a red and green one, but that requires that the human opponent is colorblind. Because again, these amiibos are initially made to hard counter humans, and we're making them fight for our own amusement. Now, the Isabelle amiibo, my memory of it is last year in April Angry, there was an audio glitch with Isabelle's fishing rod in her match with King K. Rool. It was one of the final ones to determine who made it into the tournament. Something about Isabelle getting hit in the middle of throwing out the rod would cause the reeling in noise to play for like 12 seconds until I assume the game fixed the issue. Not that the game is recoding itself, but usually as a safety measure for something like that, you would say have the sound clip last for, let's say, 8 seconds, and then you would tell the game to play the entire sound clip. Isabelle just didn't... whatever. You would tell the game to play the sound effect, and then you'd cut it off early. And that would just be easier to code and be more consistent, and then if something did happen where it went for twice as long as you would normally think, you would still have extra sound clip there. But yeah, something about that video, because it happened a couple of times, and I've never really seen it happen, like, whenever I've played Isabelle. And for reference, I have gotten Isabelle to Elite Smash, so that usually takes multiple matches. And it never happened to me then. But anyways, I thought something was going horribly wrong with the game. And I just remember that took a lot more editing than most of the other videos. I've gotten, of course, better at editing now, so it wouldn't really be a problem. But to me, the Isabelle amiibo is... oh, that... I remember that video. I remember having to edit that thing. Oh, hey, their auto heal's synced up. Oh, Isabelle almost died, but her recovery is very good. Oh, we have finally found out how Isabelle's recovery is different from villagers. It's when the recovery is done and they both pop out of the balloons, the height that little boost they get is different for the two of them. I can't remember which one is better. I get the feeling Isabelle gets a slightly higher boost. It doesn't really come into effect, though, because the recoveries are so long. But it is cool to know that there's, an extra difference there. Unlike certain Echo Fighters, which are clones of a character, even though we were told that Daisy had different move properties from Peach, but once they found out what they were, they patched them out of the game. Not that I'm bitter. Anyways, Isabelle is just not killing Ice Climber. They've been down to Popo, which I know technically it's Nana, but people like to call it Sopo, which is short for Solo Popo. Isabelle finally gets a kill. Now the Ice Climbers are slightly more than twice as strong. Oh, Isabelle gets a taunt. Really not the time you should be doing that. Almost gets both balloons broken by 2 Ice Climber hammers. And then gets killed. Interesting thing about the Ice Climbers is that they even have different hair.